All right, welcome. And my goal for this video is going to be how to get a Bitmoji nameplate. Many of you have seen Bitmoji or Bitstrips, fairly popular. What we're going to do is we're going to walk you through the entire process. So the first thing that you'll do is go to bitmoji.com and click on Get It on Google Chrome. You're going to take some time and set up your avatar. You're going to customize it to look like you or to look like whatever you want it to look like. Quite a few features that you can do. Once you have it, you're going to go to your Bitmoji extension, and you've got a lot of different ones that you can choose from. I'm going to go into this one here. And something that you want to be careful about is the extra pieces of art that are hanging out around your avatar. So like this one here would be a really tough one to print because there's a lot of stuff going on. Same one here might look a little bit strange. Same one here. This one might be pretty good. And for the sake of being a little bit challenging, I'm going to go ahead and choose one that is a little bit more on the challenging side and show you how to get around that. So I'm going to choose the Are You OK? And I'll right click and drop it in. Next thing I'm going to do, and I'm in Google Drawings right now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to resize this. And I want to be able to get rid of this text. Text may look good right now, but if it's trying to print it, it's going to turn out really odd. You may or may not get this colored in feature, but it's going to be hard to print that. So we're going to get rid of it altogether. To do so, we're going to crop it. So double clicking on the picture, dragging over, and cropping it out, and then resizing it. So this is my image. This is what I want to use for my avatar on my nameplate. Next up, I'm going to go to File, Download As, and I'm going to download this as a JPEG. Now, some of you who are familiar with 3D printing will know an SVG file will also do the trick, the scalable vector graphics. The issue that I've had is downloading this as an SVG file from Google Drawings does not allow me to easily work with it in Autodesk 123D Design. So instead, I've downloaded it as a JPEG and go into image.online-convert.com/convert-to-svg. So this link up here, I chose my file and I converted it. Now I decided not to go from Dropbox or to Google Drive because I didn't want to give this website my information. It made it real easy for me to simply choose a file and convert it. So now I've got my SVG file down here, and I'll go into Autodesk 123D Design, and what I did was I imported an SVG as a sketch. So it dropped it in here, but it dropped it in quite large. So the next thing that happened is highlighted the entire drawing and I scaled it down to 1/10 of the size. So we can drop it down really small. That way I can work around. I've got a great working area that I can go off of and reference it later if I need to. So next up, I'll go ahead and start creating my nameplate. And this is in millimeters, so we need to make sure that we know what we're dealing with as far as dimensions and parameters that are going on here. All right. And just to keep it on the appropriate grid, I'm going to go ahead and move it around and give it some extrusion. So I'm going to give it some thickness. I've chosen to go with a 10 millimeter thickness. I know that that's well within the constraints of the project, but I didn't need the extras, so I didn't use it. Next up, moving this little guy out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and drop the text down on the side. I'm going to drop the text off to the side here, and you'll see why. So make the avatar a little bit bigger, and then go ahead and drop the text in. Now, the reason why I dropped this in was because I can work with it much easier. If I drop it in over top of the rectangular prism that I have here, it'll make it a little bit more challenging to move around, to extrude, to work with. Okay. Now I'm going to center it as best I can and highlight all the letters and extrude them. So I've extruded them 12 millimeters, which gives me a 2 millimeter difference between the face of the prism and the letters themselves. So I've got a little bit more uh, thickness on the letters. Next up, highlight them all and move them over top of the nameplate. And I can delete out the original text. The next piece is to get my avatar three-dimensional. And since there are a lot of different things going on, I'm going to have to do this one by one. Maybe I don't have to. I'm going to choose to just to make sure that I get exactly what I want and how I want it to look. So to do so, I'm going to select each piece that I want and extrude. And what I'm doing is I'm starting with the most sunken in, so the least thick components of the avatar. So that'll be my ears, eyes, mouth, and chin. Next, I'm going to extrude the face. Let it think for a second. And you can tell some differences now. So my eyes are sunken in a little bit, my eyebrows are out, my neck is down, my ears are down a little bit as well. And the last, but definitely not least part of this is to give the entire rest of the body and the hair. And so now I've got multiple levels of thicknesses. Last part altogether is to move the avatar over top of the nameplate so that it blends right in. And there you have it. So taking a look just to make sure, okay. So this is from the underside. I should be able to see clear connections. I should be able to see crossovers. And looks good to me. So try it out. Once you're done with that, you're going to go ahead and export it as an STL file and send it off to your Airwolf 3D printer. Hopefully this helps.